Welcome to Peter and Roughie's football show here on STV2. Delighted to have your company on a night when there's quite a lot to talk about in the football world here in Scotland. Alan Rough is alongside me, Peter Martin. We'll be discussing the big question that's been dominating Scottish football over the last 24 hours, possibly longer, 5 weeks. If you're an Aberdeen fan and a Rangers fan, it's Derek McInnes, will he or won't he? Let's have a look at the back pages of the morning newspapers. Dons want Dell more than Gers, says former Aberdeen striker Duncan Shearer. SFA boss Hunt a pain in the backside, according to Scott Brown. Get your act together. Brendan Rodgers firing a broadside at some of the Celtic players that he feels have got a long way to go to get up to a certain level in the Champions League. The Mail, Moussa move. This is a story linking Brighton with a £20 million bid for Moussa Dembele in the January transfer window. McInnes is urged to snub Ibrox, says former Dons hero Joe Harper. And the Press and Journal with a rather stern-looking Derek McInnes alongside the Aberdeen chairman Stuart Milne. D-Day for Dons. Yes, D-Day indeed. Because Derek McInnes has decided to stay at Aberdeen.
Yeah, I have to say I'm a wee bit surprised with that. I thought when Rangers had shown their intentions that things would have moved on from there. Obviously Stuart Milne has worked very, very hard to convince Derek McInnes that this is an Aberdeen side going places. Obviously, with a new stadium, new training ground and everything. He's had a working relationship with the owner that's there for everybody to see, and that looks to me as if it swayed it, because we knew yesterday he was in deep conversation for a long time with the owner, and obviously things have been said, and I think the only winner out of this is Derek McInnes, because he's obviously maybe got a better contract.
Yeah, he must have got assurances from Stuart Milne that he's going to have some more funds to really step it up, you know, because it's a big call. The other thing that could actually have swayed it this way, Roughie, was quite simply the call that maybe Rangers weren't convincing enough in how much they could give him to transform that club.
Well, if you listen to Derek's interviews just recently there, you could see he was extremely upset by the time that it's went on, 5 to 6 weeks. And I think at the back of his mind, in the last interview that I heard, it was a sort of a feeling of, do they really want me? You know, that's the feeling I got. You know, obviously he didn't have a chance to speak to Rangers, so Stuart Milne has nipped it very quickly, you know, and he's given them lots of assurances that this is where Aberdeen are going. They want to be the number 2 team in Scotland, and it remains to be seen now. I'm sure he will hear interviews of what has been promised, and I don't think Stuart Milne will let him down.
Yeah, well, what a sign of strength from the Aberdeen chairman, because Derek McInnes was faced with the dilemma that he would have to quit Aberdeen. It would leave a sour taste in the mouth of many a Dons fan, and of course it would tarnish what he achieved over the 4 years, Roughie. But I think it's a huge kick in the teeth to Rangers that the calibre of manager that they're looking at, you know, we've heard all these names of down south. They've dragged their heels for almost 6 weeks on Derek McInnes, and they can't get him.
No, that'll be a disappointing thing for the Rangers fans who were looking forward to him coming. The Rangers board will now have to obviously reassess the situation, and there hasn't really been any other names thrown about out there for the fans to get their teeth into. So it's back to the beginning, and again we'll hear names that are going to be put out, but for me and a lot of people it was always Derek McInnes, so they've got a lot of rethinking to do.
Yeah, I wonder where they go with this now. Do they go back in for him to try and force the hand, or do they start to say, well, we need to go elsewhere? This is probably for me an indication of the standing of Rangers and what's happening at the club.
Yeah, obviously a lot of things have to be assessed. Everybody from the outside looking in is looking at the finances of the club. You know, a lot of people have got views on it, rightly or wrongly. I mean, the people at Rangers will know, you know, what the new manager is going to be given, what kind of budget, you know, what are the prospects, what are their aims, what do they want. But it just shows you that when you get a manager and you get an owner who are very, very close together. You know, that's what you want at a football club. You don't want, you know, a distance between, you know, if the manager's here and the owner's away somewhere else. You don't have that working relationship. They certainly have that at Aberdeen, and for me, that's what swayed this decision, how close they were together.
In a strange sort of way, Roughie, I would suggest to you it's the right decision because I think Derek McInnes would have become a statistic, a former Rangers manager who couldn't stop Brendan Rodgers, because the next Rangers manager's remit, stop 10 in a row, win a league title, challenge Celtic, and they're so far away from that at the moment it defies belief.
Yeah, they certainly are, you know, and again, we'll have to wait and see now what kind of manager is going to take that job on, because it is a massive one with the amount of Celtic that are piling up, you know, and obviously with more to come.
Yep, of course, up at Aberdeen earlier today, Paul Sheeran once again was in charge of training, and when he was asked the question, along with the captain Graham Shinney, they just didn't know what Derek was going to do.
Formed a decent working relationship as a staff, so we're all hopeful that both him and Tony stay at the club. But again, whether that happens, it's out with our control, and there's nothing we can do with that. I think people move on in any walk of life, whether it be in the building trade, whether it be in the football. Everybody moves on, they show ambition to better themselves, and if that's what the manager wants to do, then we'll have to take it on the chin and move on.
I would naturally want the manager to stay. He obviously brought me to the club, and we've had some good times at the club, but if he does decide to leave, then that's football, and these things happen. I've had it before at Inverness with Teddy Butcher, and then obviously John Hughes came in and had a successful period after that, so I'm sure there'll be managers waiting for this job if it comes along, and it'll be an exciting one, but naturally me and myself would obviously want the manager to stay.
It's got to be the most eagerly anticipated press conference coming up with Derek McInnes, because with every word that he delivers as to why he's staying is a kick in the teeth to Rangers, surely.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I mean, I know Rangers will try and spin it, you know, to positive, as you would expect from any football club when they identify a manager that they want and they don't get him. Again, as you said, it'd be interesting for Derek. You know, I think he was maybe a couple of days away for some Aberdeen fans maybe turning just a wee bit on him with the way things panned out with the games against Rangers and the thought of him leaving. So I think they've acted very, very quickly, you know, and I'm sure the majority of the Aberdeen supporters will get back on board.
Yep, they're off to Dens Park, Dundee against Aberdeen on the Friday night game. Of course, Neil McCann in charge at Dundee, he didn't really care whether Derek McInnes was there or not.
I'm not remotely interested in how Aberdeen are feeling, either in the dressing room or technical error. Couldn't care less. I couldn't care less who comes in here in the dugout. Derek's an ex-teammate of mine, a friend, but it's the same group of players, and that's what makes a difference. So, in that respect, I expect Aberdeen to be fully professional. They've got a real experienced group who've tasted success with silverware. They've been consistently good. And generally, if you've got a group of players like that, no matter what happens behind the scenes or at management level, they can probably get themselves going.
Well, I think it's going to be a huge lift for the Dons going down there to Dens Park to take on Dundee, albeit Dundee have had some good results lately.
Well, you could tell by the two interviews there that particularly Shinney thought they were losing their manager, you know, and now obviously that isn't the case. I think the dressing room will be happier. It's good when you're at a club where everybody likes and gets on well with the manager that's there, and I'm sure a lot of the Aberdeen players will be relieved that he is staying. And you're right, you know, I think obviously Neil was trying to be positive there, but I think that will be a massive boost for the Aberdeen players.
Yep, okay. Graham Murty will be conducting undoubtedly yet another press conference tomorrow. Huge for the lad. He is faced with the fact that Rangers have lost the appeal for Ryan Jack. No surprise, Roughie.
No, I think it's good for the sport. I think if we start appealing these kind of incidents and the players are getting off with them, I just think it sends a wrong message out to every level of football that you can get away with that kind of tackle. So, no, I think he should just take his 3 games and get on with it.
Yep, so Rangers against Ross County. Just a word on Graham Murty, Roughie. Yet again, in the middle of the storm.
Yeah, but you can see right for day one that he's handled himself very, very well. You know, at press conferences, speaking from the heart. You know, he is a Rangers man. You know, he wants to see them doing well. He's got a couple of good results there, and he'll be enjoying every minute of it as long as he keeps winning.
Yep, okay. So the big news at the start of the programme is Derek McInnes has decided to stay at Aberdeen. He was faced with the choice that Aberdeen were not allowing Rangers to speak to him, and he had the decision that he would have to quit Aberdeen to get the chance to speak to his former club about taking over as manager. The reasons will become all too apparent over the next 24 hours, but the Dons fans will be happy. They've retained their manager. As for the Rangers fans, at Peter and Roughie on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Roughie, you can give us your thoughts on what you think now for Rangers. What happens now in the search for a Rangers manager? Who would you like to see in there? Coming up after the break, Falkirk's former manager, Peter Houston, joins us. We'll find out what he's up to, what his ambitions are for the future. But here's a wee teaser question before we get to Peter. Time flies by when you're enjoying yourself. Here on the Football Show, our boot-room guest, I'm delighted to say, is former Falkirk boss Peter Houston. Peter, probably a good time to get a chance to chat to you about what the future holds for you, because I make no bones about telling you, we've been touting you for every job that's going, but I think we're going down the wrong path. Give us an update.
Well, one of the things that I did say that, and I had in my own mind, was when I got to 60 years of age, which I'm not 60 yet, I'm just about there. I'd like to, you know, it's a young man's game. I'd like to go into something different within football. Certainly want to stay in football. I had a wee feel of that at Celtic for a while when I was doing the scouting. Something like that kind of role I'd like to do as well, you know, because for a long time now, you take the stresses and strains back with you, you take it back home with you. There's a lot of pressure there, and when you're at football clubs where you don't have an awful lot of money to spend, there's a constant turnover of players now. I think it's getting more difficult for managers. It's certainly for younger guys coming into the game now. I see a big difference in the game, because simply if you don't get it right quickly, you're out the door.
Yeah, can I pick up on that? Was there more of a pressure, not so much a pressure, but more of a willingness on your part to try and, you know, satisfy your family? Was it more driven by your family, or? No,
it's one of the things that you have in your mind. You think to yourself, well, you've done it such a long time, you've been involved, you've done the hours, and you've took all the strains and pressures that you take home with you. And yeah, the family come into it. You know, it's lovely to see you've got a young granddaughter now as well, and spending time with her and being in a good mood, even after, you know, lose football matches. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
She certainly brought us out of it on many occasions. But as I say, yeah, you start to get to an age where you think to yourself, do you need the hassle? Do you want the hassle anymore? And I felt that because I'd maybe had an experience of doing the scouting stuff with Celtic, I'd like to go down that road again. You know, it's not that easy in Scotland, because there's very few jobs and very few full-time jobs at that, you know. But as I said, right now I've been watching games for Hearts. I've been watching the players who they have out on loan, and that's a good experience, because I'm feeding back and writing reports for Craig Levine and his backroom staff, how the young ones that they've put on loan that they might think are good enough eventually for Hearts, or I'll make an opinion as well whether I think they're good enough or not good enough on many occasions, you know. So I've been enjoying that, so it's been getting me out on a Saturday.
Was there a final itch then to take the Falkirk job when you were at Celtic? Was that the last itch to think, oh, I've still got something to offer?
You know, I thought long and hard about it, Peter. If I'm being perfectly honest, I'd only been 8 months of doing the job and thoroughly enjoying it and learning quite a great deal about the scouting side under John Park at Celtic. And when Falkirk came in for me, that's when it became very, very difficult. And I was encouraged as well with John Partley to say, look, have another go at it, because this is, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity. Falkirk's a wonderful club. The other thing that excited me was the fact that Hearts, Hibs and Rangers were going to be in that division as well.
Yeah.
And I found that as a challenge. I found that as a challenge to try and go to Ibrox, Easter Road, Tynecastle at that particular time and try and get results. And if you look at over the last 3 years, apart from the 6 weeks that we had bad, we had 3 good years. We won at Easter Road, we won at Tynecastle, we beat Rangers on a few occasions, numerous occasions as well, at the Falkirk Stadium. We were a minute off beating them at Ibrox as well, you know, so we probably punched above our weights in many ways with regards to it. We lost a cup final in the last couple of minutes as well, you know, so we had some good times and we probably 6 or 7 bad weeks, and that's enough nowadays to get the manager a sack.
Yeah, listen, you know, in the last couple of shows, Roughie's wanted managers boot it out after 6 weeks, possibly less. But the one thing I was going to say to you is, when you look back at your time there at Falkirk, I mean, that's probably why, Roughie, we were actually saying, oh, Peter Houston, Hearts job surely, you know, other jobs that have come up, because quite simply, you look back, cup final appearance, the positions you finished in the league.
I think again, you know, it's the standards that you set and where you've been, and then when it just drops below that, then you start thinking, then you see the success that you've had, and you want to be back there again. You don't want to be down the bottom of the league. You want to be remembered for the good things. And let's not forget it, there's some people tipped Falkirk to win the league this year.
Well, if I'm being honest,
I've been giving him pelters on this show for that every week.
Well, if I'm being honest, and I can see why Roughie's maybe mentioned us, because finishing second the last couple of years, we lost 6 players in the summer. We could only bring a goalkeeper, and Alex Harris come in.
Which one of the 6 would you think was the most important that you thought?
Probably Luke Leahy. We lost Luke Leahy to Walsall, and over the years we'd lost players to Blair Olsen to St Johnstone, we'd lost Laurie Loy to Dundee, we'd lost players that we sold, Conor McGrandle, you know, so we sold 5 players in our time there. We lost players to higher divisions as well, and it's a constant, without a scouting network, you've got to find the players yourself, you've got to trust some agents that you do trust, you've got to go on things that you remember players playing against you and him becoming available. Joe McKee, for example, I remember playing for Morton. Joe done well against us. All of a sudden becomes available. His agent gets on to you. Yeah, bring him in. And that's how, you know, without the backup that the bigger clubs have, a constant change of players is very, very difficult. I'll be honest, Peter, we should have done better. You know, the Falkirk team, the Falkirk squad of players won the first 4 Betfred Cup games convincingly, scored 12 or 13 goals, didn't concede. And then all of a sudden, we start the league at St Mirren. We're 1-0 up after 5 or 10 minutes. After 30 minutes, could easily have been 3 or 4-0 up. Jack Ross's words as well. St Mirren come back into the game, scored before half-time and scored just after half-time. 2 days later, 3 days later, we play Livingston in the Betfred Cup, where we'd done so well, and we lost in extra time. And after that, trying to get a tune out of the players was difficult. And even Paul at this particular time as well is finding it difficult, but there's a squad of players there capable of doing better, and that's the thing that disappoints me slightly sitting here today, is that Falkirk should be doing better than what they are this season. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we're gobsmacked by how difficult the job's been for Paul Hartley. As far as you know, Hearts and what you're doing there, is it something that you would like to do on a full-time basis then?
Oh yeah, without doubt. You know, as I say, I touched on it before with doing some stuff for Celtic. If something became available at any football club, I'm willing and listen to offers. You know, 5 months from now, if I've not got a job, I might be looking for a manager's job again. You know, so you can't rule it out. But if primarily, I'd like to get back into that side. You know, and as I say, I've done it for a long, long time. I've been involved in football at the cold face for a long time. And I'd like to take a slight step back, but be a help to another manager to try and find some decent players for them that could improve them.
Yeah, 5 months from now, if you're still out of a job, we can't have 2 Peters on the titles, can we, Roughie? Peter, Roughie and Peter. It just doesn't work, does it? It's as simple as that. The other thing I was going to say to you now, I've got to get this, because this left me gobsmacked. and I didn't think it was actually part of your makeup, but when you put yourself under pressure by saying, "Oof, you know, I'm either getting Falkirk Cup or that's it for me," was that in the back of your mind? That, I think that, if anything, does that not increase the pressure on the chairperson and the board?
Well, looking back, Peter, possibly it did. You know, maybe it's not the brightest thing to say. But at the end of the day, as I was very, very upfront and honest with Margaret, the chairman, and they were fantastic, because I did mention the fact that come Christmas time, you've got to start thinking about who the next manager is going to be, what players you want to keep, what players you're going to move on, because contracts will be up and things like that. And I wanted to try and help in that sense, you know. But in hindsight, it probably I shouldn't have made it public, but perhaps told the Falkirk board, which I did do, privately, and for them to have an open mind. But I did expect us to be doing better at the time. If I'm being honest, I thought we would be higher up the table. I thought we'd have more wins behind us, but unfortunately that wasn't to be. So as soon as people maybe find out that you're going to move on in the summer, or you're finishing your contract, which I was wanting to do, I was wanting to make sure that I was at Falkirk to the end of the season. But I had to win football matches, and unfortunately the team never won football matches. So once the fans turn a wee bit, and they did towards the end, it's inevitable what happens. It's always the manager that will take or get the bullet.
Yeah. Who wins that division for you?
Looking at me, I would say that Dundee United's got the strongest squad. You know, I think Jack's done a fantastic job down at St Mirren. Where they are now from exactly a year ago, they were bottom of the league. You know, you've got to give great credit to Jack Ross, but I look at the recruitment policy for Derek McInnes in the summer. He brought in players like Five, Scott McDonald, things like that, players who have been at a really high level.
Yeah.
And I think they probably spent money to get all these players in. And I felt Ray was unlucky to lose his job, but now they look at a team who have got a great squad of players, and keeping everybody fit, I think they'll be very, very difficult to knock off the top.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to be two-faced. I tipped Dundee United, whether you were here or not. But I was starting to get wobbly. But I agree with you wholeheartedly, because St Mirren could be the team to upset the apple cart. Although, you know, Jack Ross is gaining more and more credibility, Roughie.
Yeah, I think the good thing about it is I don't think we're going to have a runaway this time. You know, it killed it. You know, all we were doing was talking about who was going to be in the top four. I think it'll be a lot tighter this year.
Okay, coming up after the break, we're going to talk about another one of Peter's old clubs. He's mentioned them earlier there. We're going to talk about Hearts. There's some concerns over the new main stand, and the police have been asking to reevaluate that safety certificate. We'll talk about that coming up next. Yep, you were too far off there, Roughie.
Yeah, it was.
Because, any team that won the league then had to be pre-1965-66 season, since that was the start of Celtic's 9 in a row. So you've always got to get these things in your mind. If only we had an older Peter Houston on the programme to guess the answer to that one, but we didn't. So I've got to ask you. You know, you're at Hearts. There was such a rush to get them back in there. There's a little concern at the moment. There seems to be the police have raised a concern about the safety of the new main stand, Roughie, at Tynecastle. They've written to the Edinburgh City Council asking for the safety certificate to be re-examined for a number of concerns that they have there. I think Hearts need that like a hole in the head right now.
Yeah, but if you're going to do a rebuild in the magnitude of that, you're going to have hitches for. I mean, you look at the bridges at the Forth Road Bridge, they're digging them up again. You know, I mean, it's just not going to happen right away. There's going to be wee glitches here and there, so you just have to work round it and fix it, because we know health and safety now is massive. You know what I mean? As I said beforehand, if you got lump of bricks lying about somewhere, that's it, gone. You know, they just can't take a chance anything like that happen or anybody getting injured. So I'm sure Hearts will work with the authorities and get it sorted out.
Yeah, on to the matters on the field and the manager. You know him well, Craig, and yourself had a long-standing relationship. Were you surprised that he put himself back in the firing line?
Well, I think he's a guy that I actually thought he'd stopped managing far too early. You know, I worked under him as assistant manager, and I thought he was a terrific manager. I think it's taken a wee while for him to get back into the groove again in such ways to be back to being in the coalface, you know, because obviously the director of football is a wee bit away from it. He's there to encourage and help Robbie Nielsen, Ian Cathro, which didn't quite work out, but he's back into the coalface, and I still thought he was early in giving it up. I think it's only now that he's starting to get back into getting old Craig Levein back. When you hear him some of his interviews now, that he's starting to get passionate about it again, you know, because it's a step into, as I say, the coalface where you need results, and Craig will be desperate to try and change. I don't think they're 1 and 6, and I think it's important that no matter how you get it, is digging out a couple of results in a row, which would get confidence going again amongst the players. And I also think that he probably needs the January window to try and freshen it up a wee bit and get a wee bit more quality.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think, you know, and again, you can never be certain in football now because we've already been talking about managers getting the bullet quickly. I think with Anne Budge, he's got someone who's on his side. She says she's going to back him in the January transfer window. I mean, I would look at it and say that possibly, you know, he deserves 2 transfer windows to try and build his side.
Well, am I right and wrong? Did they sign a 3-year contract?
Yeah.
You know, and let's be honest about it. If you sign a 3-year contract, she's looking longer term as Craig being the manager. But results determine everything. You know, I know that for a fact that as soon as the fans don't go your way, it can be very, very difficult for anybody or any owner. But I'm convinced that with a few additions, that the squad of players, Craig will get the best out of them. He'll work hard with them. He's got good coaching staff underneath him as well, and John Daly and Liam Fox and Austin McPhee's there as well. I think all it takes is a few tweaks. I just think another bit of quality, possibly a backup left back in that as well. I think there's a couple of players that he feels he's a bit short on. Yeah. And if they can get some decent quality in the January window, I'm convinced, you know, they've no 1 and 6, and they're still 6 in the table. So it tells you that there's, you know, with a couple of results there, can start climbing the table again.
Would you bite the bullet and just say, let's hold on to Jamie Walker till the summer to see if he can help us?
It's a difficult scenario,
yeah.
You know, let's be honest about it, because Jamie can walk for nothing in the summer. If you're being realistic and somebody makes a bid in the January window, they've got to seriously consider it. You know, the stand's been, I think it's over 2 million budget, over the budget, and that money's got to be found for somewhere. And if somebody come in and offered a decent sum for Jamie Walker, who I think's a terrific player, I think they might well take it. You know, personally, from Hearts' point of view, I'd rather see Jamie Walker staying there, but I could understand if Anne Budge and Craig Levein, if a bid's made in the January window, then he'd probably go. Yeah,
I mean, Arnaud Djum's got a bit of quality, Roughie, as well, but I think Walker's got a trick. You know, he's already, you know, shown everyone his prowess from a set piece. You know, he can hit a free kick, but I still think he's got some little bit of magic at, you know, going past players that other players in that team don't have at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Craig's already went on record. You know, I think it was the Rangers game, you know, that Hearts were doing particularly well when he was on the park, and then all of a sudden he wasn't on the park, and the spark had gone. Just maybe the players run about him, you know, expect, you know, him to be the main winner, and then you take him out of the equation, and then they've all got to fight for it themselves. Yeah. And it's a different kettle of fish altogether. So I think Craig realises he's a big player, so if they think that he's the one that's going to be going, they'll have to dig out a very good replacement.
Yeah, of course, Motherwell, Dundee and Celtic are the 3 remaining home games for Hearts in this long run of trying to get a win at home. Motherwell up next. The longer it goes on, it just becomes a pain, and now Motherwell are a different animal completely.
Well, you look at Motherwell, you know, they've had 3 games over the week against Celtic, and although it finished badly or heavily, a heavy defeat on Saturday, they will be looking to jump straight back in, because out of the teams that are in the division just now, when Celtic were going to face them in the cup final, probably most people would have thought that that's the team that could come up and maybe just sneak it. You know, it didn't happen that way. Celtic were professional and went about their business and won it well. But Motherwell, under Stevie Robinson, they've got a fantastic group of players. They've got a winning mentality. They are hard to play against. They get it forward. They've got two fantastic strikers. Louis Moll's been sensational this year. It's holding on to him. That's their biggest problem, is to try to make sure they hold on to him. But Bowman's been a good foil for them. They've got McHugh in the middle of the park. Cadden, who I think is a terrific player as well. So they've got a nucleus there, a really good squad of players. And for Hearts will need to be at their best to win or take anything from the match on Saturday at Tynecastle, because Motherwell will be hurting because of last Saturday. So a difficult match ahead.
And in the capital, Roughie, I think it's fair to say that at the moment I feel as if Hibs are the stronger of the two sides. They've got Celtic coming. In fact, Celtic, Rangers and Aberdeen. What a 7 days coming up for Hibs.
Yeah, it certainly is, but as a player that's what you want. You want to be playing in the big games. You obviously want to win them, going on to the next one, but that remains to be seen what the score will be. But I think Neil will quietly believe that he could be the one that stops this run. But everybody's been saying that, and it's not happened yet. So I think it'll be a really, really exciting game at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Anthony Stokes seems to have been able to overcome the problems they had with the manager. Says everything's A-OK now. He's you see the smile in your face is magnificent, because bus stops happen all the time.
Oh, it's listen and one of the guys who can handle it and handle it really well is Neil Lennon. And Neil Lennon and Stokes, he's probably good friends. You know, okay, there's a manager-player relationship there. And the great thing about Neil Lennon, as far as he'll not stand any nonsense. Stokes is probably bit at something ridiculous. But the two of them are back together, saying there's nothing wrong, and that's exactly the way it should be. You know, they move on, and Stokes has quoted the papers this morning as saying, "Look, we've moved on. It's happened. We had a fallout, but they're probably the best of pals." And Neil, being the type of manager he is, he'll probably get a kickback from that, and Stokes he'll be a threat, and he'll be a threat against his old club on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Barry Ferguson was adamant. He thinks Hibs have got what it takes to stop them. They're one of two or three sides that I think more than capable of giving Celtic a game. In fact, I would go as far as to say that Hibs have looked the best side, Roughie, against Celtic this season, closely followed by Motherwell.
Yeah, but look, we all said that against Aberdeen up at Pittodrie. You know, we thought that was going to be the one, and Celtic came out and absolutely rolled them. And they've got the players in reserve. That for me, that's what turns the game towards Celtic's way. When you turn around and you look at the bench, if things are maybe even Stevens, you look at the bench and you look at three players that you can throw on to turn the game, and that's what Celtic have been doing in this run. Yeah.
Do you think the fallout from the Champions League will affect them?
The only effect I think it will give Celtic is that, you know, I think Brendan's told them, reading between the lines and seen some interviews, is that they didn't do well enough the other night there. And generally, when you get a bit of stick, a bit of criticism from the manager, they go again. And I think that mentality is strong in the Celtic dressing room. I think with Scott Brown and guys like Craig Gordon, Kieran Tierney as well, for being so young, they couldn't hide their disappointment. I think they'll get a kick on, and I think it'll make the game more difficult for Hibs this week. If they'll beat Anderlecht, they might have had a chance. I think Celtic will be at it on Sunday. Yeah,
the strange thing about it is it's the first time where there's been a chink in this positivity, where the manager has said, listen, you're not as good as you think you are. Scott Brown's come out and said to the rest of the players, it's time you proved the manager wrong.
No, I think as we saw in Brendan's interviews, he's very positive. You know, he can spin it his way, and quite rightly so. He's a manager. He's got to keep everybody on board. But I think this is the first time that we saw in an interview that he has possibly said a few angry words to the players. So as Peter said there, they'll be determined to get that out of the way.
Just briefly, there was a wee story this morning saying Brighton could tempt Celtic in the January window with a £20 million bid. I don't think Brighton's the club that Moussa Dembele ends up at.
No, I think Moussa Dembele is obviously targeting a massive club. You know, I still think he's not the finished article. I think he's not the player that he was maybe a year ago. So he maybe has to get back to that at a higher level, do it in the Champions League. No, I think he would want to go bigger than Brighton.
Okay. Coming up after the break, we'll look at last night's Champions League results. Yep, no problem there. 1989 for you, Roughie. Obviously, you'll remember that year fondly.
Yeah, that's a new tactic when you haven't a clue. Just guess.
And hopefully it pays off for you. Just got to mention the fact that the Hearts game against Motherwell goes ahead, despite the fact that the police raised concerns over certain issues within the new main stand. Hearts seem fairly okay. They've had a chat with the police as well, and the game gets the go-ahead, so that's good news. The other thing I was going to say to you, Peter, obviously through all your years of, working as an assistant and a manager, here's one to spring on you. There's been a few managers who have been under a bit of pressure and have had to, slowly but surely, as every manager needs his time. What's the best bit of advice you got when you look back over your career?
Best piece of advice is not to tell them you're going. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. It's difficult to say. It's getting a younger man's game, and younger managers. I think boards of directors have got to give them that bit of time, and make sure that they're given an opportunity.
Yeah.
In Scotland, especially if you're not one of the top clubs, finance is a massive problem. And my advice is to young managers is make sure you've got some sort of recruitment drive behind you, because when you've not got anybody doing that for you, I think insist on it and make sure that because of the changeovers is much more often with players leaving because they want to go to bigger clubs, the more successful you are and the better you become, is make sure that you've got players lined up. And I found that a difficult thing, because if you've not got a recruitment policy behind you, make sure you do. It's a big help to you.
I was going to say, should owners and directors and that be more appreciative of the budget that they give you to work under, considering other teams that have got bigger budgets?
Oh, there's in the 3 years prior to this season, Hearts, Hibs and Rangers, Falkirk could never get a budget. They tried, and listen, I had a good relationship with the board with regards to that. They tried their best at times. I felt, and I told them at the time, if you want to go that step further forward, you need to invest a wee bit more with regards to the quality of the player. And that quality, you don't get quality without more money being spent in bigger wages. But it's like everything else, they've got a job to do, because if there's 5,000 coming in per week, they have to increase that. They have to get bigger revenue coming in the door. But they live well at Falkirk. They've done exceptionally well. They've got, they've sold players in the past few years. They've got a good youth policy. The club's in a sound footing, and what the directors do is they make sure it stays in a sound footing, and that means it impacts on the manager maybe getting that bigger budget that could maybe take that step into the Premier League again. Yeah,
in a strange way, and I'm not going to be two-faced about it. You say it's a younger man's game. I kind of disagree in a sense that I think it should be an older man's game with a younger person learning of them longer. I mean, I look at John Robertson going in. When you think of the experience Robbo's had, slowly but surely he had a really bad start. Yeah. People are looking and thinking, when do you start asking questions about him? But because I know him, I know the way he operates, he's a good man manager. Mm-hmm. And again, slowly but surely, Inverness are taking on Falkirk this week. He's slowly but surely started to turn it around. It can all go pear-shaped, but I think he's a good manager. And I think experienced managers are the ones where, it's not because they've discarded them in Scottish football now, it's just because, quite simply, financially, they can't afford to pay some of them.
Well, I think you're right. Firstly, John Robertson's doing a fantastic job. And one of the things that, you're right what you say. I think that, but again, finance comes into this, is that at Falkirk Football Club, for example, if you use my old club, maybe somebody above the manager who's head of football operations. That costs money. Yeah. It costs a salary. But what that head of operations football guy could be doing is looking at players' recruitment, but also being an experienced guy who could, if the manager was struggling a wee bit, if the results weren't going well in the park, could sit and discuss it. That head of football operations shouldn't be looking to take over the team. Yeah. He should be looking at how he can help the manager. Yeah. But as I say, I suggested things like that to Falkirk as well, that perhaps in the future that's what they should be looking at. If they're going to be going down the road of a younger manager again, is have somebody not above him in charge of him, but somebody to bounce off.
Is that not an Alex Smith?
Well, Alex isn't he's at the games every week. Yeah. I would suspect that the head of football guy doesn't need to be at the Falkirk games.
Yeah.
He should be at Queen's Park trying to find their best young players that doesn't cost any money. He should be looking at Rangers and Celtic young players who might get released, who might be good enough for Falkirk, because the youth policy at both Celtic and Rangers, you look at the players who have been discarded, who are playing championship football just now, and there's quite a lot.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of things I want to get your thoughts on, guys, before we say farewell tonight. Of course, Euro 2020, Roughie, well, we're waiting on the big decisions. Hampden Park and Dublin's Aviva Stadium will host last 16 matches and 3 group games. So Wembley's going to get a call as well. I think Wales have missed out, but that's going to be good again for Hampden Park. It strengthens the case, a gala occasion, you know. Euro 2020 fans will be able to go and see some top drawer matches.
I think it's fantastic when the big games come to Glasgow. You know, it just adds something to the city. You know, when you see teams, supporters coming in from Germany, Spain, Italy or whatever, it's a very, very good environment to be in. And I think the best thing about it is we handle it well. We don't have any trouble. The police are absolutely fantastic. We lay on, you know, a right good day or 2 days for the teams that are coming here, and everybody goes away happy. And I think that's why we continuously keep getting the games.
Yeah. Are you a fan of keeping Hampden as the national stadium or taking it around the country?
I like taking it around the country, if I've been honest. You know, we worked with the Scotland set up. I think we went to Aberdeen once against the Faroes, if I'm right, and it was a fantastic atmosphere where you got a decent crowd because it was up there, and the Tartan Army, who are a lot of Highlanders who do come down to Glasgow quite a lot. You know, one of the things I was saying is you're taking it to them. I look at the stadia we have now. I look at Tynecastle when they get the safety certificates and it's fully finished. I look at Easter Road as well. I think they're terrific stadiums, and you know, you're talking about Celtic and Rangers as well. I look at Spain. Spain spread it all over the place. You know, when I was working and we played Spain over in Spain, they played it somewhere near Alicante. Yeah. Hercules, I think, is the name of and the atmosphere was sensational. But they're giving all the other fans who maybe can't make it to Madrid or wherever they take it. It was brilliant for them. You know, Hampden's served its time. It's been a great stadium. I've got great memories of winning the Scottish Cup at Hampden. But if you look at the stadium in Scotland just now, I think it's getting better and better. Okay,
Champions League. We now know the last 16. Here's the results from last night, and there was certainly a few tankings handed out, Roughie, and one of them screaming out it is Liverpool 7, Spartak Moscow 0. Maribor and Seville shared the points there. Feyenoord with a good win over Napoli, and Manchester City, for the first time. It's not often you see Manchester City losing a game. First time this season, lost to Shakhtar Donetsk by 2-1. Porto hammered Monaco. Leipzig lost to Besiktas, and in the end Real Madrid defeated Borussia Dortmund, with once again your man Cristiano Ronaldo breaking all sorts of records. And Tottenham 3, Apoel Nicosia 0. Here indeed are the last 16 teams in the Champions League, and the draw is on Monday, as well as the Europa League, which of course Celtic will be keeping a close eye on. They are unseeded, but here are the teams, Roughie. Your team and my team still in there, and I wonder, Peter, is your tip for that team still in there?
Well, yeah, I would say Paris Saint-Germain must be up there with one of the favourites this year. Yeah. No, not just the fact that they beat Celtic convincingly. They look they've got great quality.
Yeah, is that your tip?
Yes.
Okay, you happy? Look at Roughie. You happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. But I wasn't happy with them last night. We discussed this. We know how good they are going forward, but we've now discovered that they do lose goals if you can get at them. You know, and I think against the bigger sides, that will be the test. You know, that because I think the further you get in the tournament, it's all about your defence and your goalkeeper. I think are important in some two-leg games, but they've got the 3 up front to rubbish that suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've tipped Man City, but who knows? We'll find out at the end of the season. But just before we go, I think footballers, and Peter will be well aware of this, much maligned, you know, as you go through the course of a season, but they do a lot of good work. A lot of it goes unnoticed in the community. And I have to say, lots of players, especially at this time, go out and bring a smile to kids and adults' faces in hospital, because sometimes you take your health for granted, but players go out. Rangers players were out the other day there, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, every one of the clubs, 42 clubs, go out and do something in the community at Christmas as well as other times, Peter.
Without doubt, Falkirk players do it as well, and I've been part of that, going along to the Forth Valley Hospital, and they put money towards the presents that they take in for the kids as well, which I think is fantastic. It's great to see, and to get a smiling face back at you for kids who are ill. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course you get to wear a stupid Santa hat, Roughie.
Yeah. But see how you're saying the kids that they go and see get a smile on their face.
Yeah.
Players love it. Players get a smile on their face when they see what's out there, and they see very appreciative, aren't they?
Yeah.
When you go along to these hospitals.
Absolutely. Well done to all the teams right across all 42 clubs, because I know they do a lot at Christmas in the community. Okay, that's it for tonight's programme. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We will no longer tout Peter Houston for any manager's job. We've been doing it for weeks. It's been barking up the wrong tree. He's going to be a scout. He's happy. He's heading to 60. What more can I say? From Peter and from Roughie and myself, good night.